This is the Stubborn German Podcast, coming to you from the always festive and happy Stubborn German Brewing Company, here in the small little happy land of Waterloo, Illinois. I'm Kevin Ostie, joined by the proprietor of the Stubborn German Brewing Company, Mr. Chris Ron.
Hello there, Kevin.
Hello there, Chris. And our producer extraordinaire and very talented musician as well, and secret man of the government of some sort,
Right.
Mr. George Jensen.
Good evening, I think.
International man of mystery.
Yes.
And we're joined once again by our friend, Mr. Rick Kleinschmidt.
Thanks for having me back, guys. Happy to be here.
Hi, Rick.
Hey, Chris.
We're happy to
Hey.
have you back
Hey.
because our last conversation, generated some questions for Mr. Rick. So we're gonna solve all those on this episode. But before we do that, we're going to solve the always conundrous
Wow.
German word of the day.
Yeah, and I don't even know if we should do this anymore. I mean, Kevin got it last time.
Right?
Yeah, I won twice in 3 years. What is it?
I've never seen Chris so deflated.
Yeah, I'm kind of over it. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Maybe we should
I'm still
go the
riding the
other way.
high. I don't even know what happened.
Maybe you should do like, what's water tower mean in German? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
What's conundrous mean?
Wasserpulst.
You're probably right.
You like conundrous? I think that should
That
be
was
a word
good
if it's
word.
not.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't let Chris fool you. We were high-fiving after that.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it was
he's acting all down.
It was
about
great. It was amazing. Anyway, German word of the day for today. Putzheimer.
I'm sorry, what?
Putzheimer.
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 Putzheimer. Oh, boy. If I
Yeah.
remember correctly, I'm supposed to go first again.
Yes.
So
Correct. You do remember
He
that
just
correctly.
jumps right out.
Politeness
I like
and all.
it.
Yeah, I was
Dives
just
on the
gonna-
grenade.
Yeah, let's just jump right in
What a
here.
guy.
I'm going to go with Swizzle Stick.
Swizzle
Ooh,
stick.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't know if you've figured out my process yet, but
No,
Blended
yeah.
No.
my schnapps with my Putzheimer. I like that.
I'll go first, Kevin. I know you need some extra
Swizzle
time
I do, I'm
to
slow.
nail this
it's
one.
got a big reputation to hold up.
This is,
Jared.
it's not funny or interesting or anything, but it popped in my head. Pot still.
Oh, okay.
Pot still. Pot
I
still.
like that one. Pot still.
Putzheimer. Pot
yeah.
still.
I like
That's
pot
good.
still. I like Putzheimer. I like it all.
Putzheimer.
I like it all.
Yeah, boy.
All right, Kevin, what is it? Just tell us what it is.
Yeah, I got nothing on this one.
I got nothing on this
Putzheimer.
one.
It's a shoehorn,
It's a shoehorn.
obviously.
Shoehorn. Now, I'm going to catch hell for this because I can't actually think of the quote, but it keeps reminding me of Young Frankenstein, where
Put
they say, put
the candle
the
back.
candle. I couldn't remember what it was. Put the candle back.
Yes.
That's what it makes me think of. Put the candle back.
By the way, we're just coming out of the holidays, the Christmas, New Year's holidays at this point, and a lot of people they watch Die Hard as a
course.
Christmas film. There's always that debate. In my family, the big holiday film is Young Frankenstein.
Oh.
So it becomes a fight in my household because my wife it's one of her favorites, Young Frankenstein, and I can't stand it. I can't get through it. I won't watch the whole thing.
Holy mackerel!
I'm sorry, Kevin.
How do we get this guy off?
I
here?
know.
Oh, it's almost...
Kentucky Lager and
Except
Young
for today,
Frankenstein.
you did.
Yeah,
I know.
I'll
Thank
bring
you.
more.
All right.
Which is worse, hating stouts or hating Young Frankenstein?
I mean, I won't hate is a strong word. I just
What is it that you can't sit through? What rubs you the wrong way? There's something in your
scary?
childhood.
I think
that,
it's just Mel Brooks. Period.
Huh?
I'm sorry.
Wow.
And I'm not into the what are the other like Airplane and Naked Gun? Like that's not my style of humor.
Oh,
And
he
what's
just
interesting
keeps-
is Mel Brooks is actually mocking that humor by using that humor.
Yeah, right.
Because it's not his thing either.
Right.
But he made a lot of money with it.
And someone recently said that they feel like movies like Dumb and Dumber, which is one of my all-time favorites,
Which is not funny.
is the same. Oh my god, Kevin. Is the same like genre as Naked Gun and Young Frankenstein. And I was just like, no, not at all. Those are not.
yeah, I don't think...
It's far
Dumb
less
and Dumber
cerebral.
is so much better.
Yeah, I agree. Wait, I'm not sure who I
Far
agree
less
with here.
cerebral.
Yes.
I know. I'm kind of going back and forth here, too, because I kind of like all this.
I know, I was gonna say, I like
Yeah,
them all.
yeah.
I
I was
love the
about to
Naked
say,
Gun.
I think a lot less of you, Jared, but
That's
then you started
okay.
talking good about Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and
Well,
Dumber
I
is
love Dumb and
classic.
Dumber.
It's,
I want to get up and start calling strikes and doing dances.
Yeah, right.
I can handle it. I get it. I'm in the minority here with Young Frankenstein. But
Well, I think part of it, you can go on about the actual writing and the actual film, but much the way you've described different beers here as being enjoyable because of the surroundings and the experience. 58 zillion years ago, when our family got our first VCR, right, VHS VCR, I think one of the very first films that we rented was Young Frankenstein. And it was a Christmas. The VCR was a Christmas present to the family, so it happened at Christmas time. And I was a young kid, and my sister was a young kid, and my parents were going out one night, and they learned that I think part of the motivation for the VCR was they thought it was like a babysitter.
Of course, yes.
So my dad slips the tape in and says, "Sit down and watch this, and we'll be back in 3 hours." And I don't know what happened, but it was funny.
Did your VCR have rewind?
It had rewind, but it had a remote on a cord.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a.
My grandma had a TV with a remote on a cord.
Yeah.
I've never seen one with a cord before.
Well, you don't lose it.
No, that's true.
It was
An added bonus.
made by RCA, which I don't even know if they make electronics anymore. And there was a name for it. I'll think of it at some point.
Putzheimer?
Yes, it's the it's the Putzheimer with cord. Love it. So, Mr. Kleinschmidt, you're joining us once again, and if people don't know, you are one of the many talented bartenders that shares the joy here at the Stubborn with patrons.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I joined the team here almost exactly a year ago, right about now. It's been really fun. Great to get to know the life behind the bar and all the patrons on the other side of it. It's been really fun.
Now, this, your experience with this establishment didn't start a year ago, but your employment did.
Correct. My experience with the brewery started. I can name the day. It was July 4th, 2016.
Wow.
We had just moved to Waterloo on July 1st. And we were just checking out the town. We came in. It was pretty busy. And if I recall, I think Chris was actually behind the bar.
Could be.
Back then.
Those were the days where we didn't sleep. We just bartended forever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We would have been open about 2 months at that point.
Yeah. At the time, I didn't know because we came in and we were like, man, these guys are really busting it. This place is busy. They should really think about getting some more bartenders. So right then my plan started.
It only took you, 6 years.
6 years later.
Well, tell the story about what made you decide to go ahead and apply for a position
absolutely.
here.
So because
it went just like that.
It went just like that. Yeah, we were coming here and we just always enjoyed the beer and the atmosphere. And Chris and Tammy are great people, and all the bartenders over the years were really nice. So we were here for a private event. And there was no bartender, and Tammy said, "All right, everybody, you want a drink? Help yourself. Get to it." And my eyes got big, and I looked at her and I said, "Are you really going to let me behind the bar?" And she was like, "Well, yeah, there's no bartender here today.
If you
help
want a
yourself."
beer, you better go get it.
And
Out of necessity, you got to.
I'm pretty sure that I leapt over the bar right then and there and started pouring beers and shouted to the whole bar, "Who wants a beer?"
Man.
And a few minutes later, I said, "Well, when do I start?" And Tammy said, "Yeah, talk to me when you're sober."
Wise lady, that Tammy.
Yeah. So I sobered up, and she reached out and said, "If you're serious, we might be able to use somebody who doesn't know how to bartend very well." And I said, "Hey, I am
But has tremendous enthusiasm,
Yeah.
which can't be taught.
Yeah.
Just leaping ability.
That's actually
Yeah,
it.
you can teach
Yep.
bartending.
Yep.
You can't teach.
Yeah, so I
energy.
started right then and there that day, where there was no bartender on, and that's how I got my feet wet in bartending. Thoroughly enjoy it.
That's awesome.
Now, I will say, I'm sure there are many other people that have the same perspective that I have on this. I'm sure that I had seen you up here for many years as a customer, and then I saw you behind the bar, and there was this panic moment of like, oh my God, has he worked here for 5 years?
not
And I just didn't realize it.
The whole time, I really feel like I should have been nicer to him now that he's pouring
and
my
I thought,
drink.
man, I should have known better.
we should
It's
put
like,
name tags on and be like, first
How
day
long have
or,
you been here?
5 months.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
like when you
Yes.
go to the casinos in Vegas and they have the city that all the employees used to
Oh,
work
yeah,
at.
go.
Yeah.
You put your start date on there.
That's a really good idea.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
team members since.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep, exactly.
That would help because I felt bad that I didn't know that you worked here. It was like, oh, you've only worked here less than a year. Okay.
So-
You went up
That's
to him
why.
and you said, "I'll have the usual."
Yes,
And he's like,
it's
"What?"
like, oh.
Yeah, I was
That's
going to
my
say,
first
on the
day.
flip side of that, there was a lot of people that I'd be back there that I would see out there and they'd order a drink and I'd be like, I should know their name. I've seen
Yeah.
them here for a couple of years now.
Oh, you do that too?
And
Yes.
Did you have people that said, "What are you doing back there? You're supposed to be over here drinking. How dare you?"
Once or twice when I just happened to be here hanging out and just jump back to help out with something, they'd be like, "Are you sure you're supposed to be back there?" But most of the time I had my formal shirt on. So, but every now and then they'd be like, "Wait a minute."
Now that you say
boy.
that, though, that is one of the cool things here. When a bartender who happens to be here with their family or whatever, just hanging out,
They always
and
wear their formal shirt.
Well, yeah, they always have a Stubborn German shirt. But when they see that maybe it's getting a little out of hand, a big crowd came in or whatever, they will just hop behind the bar
They do.
and start
We're
helping out.
Seriously,
Yeah.
way too lucky
Yes.
to have gathered a group of people that awesome and nice.
Yep.
To,
Well, so I'm gonna.
I don't even do that when I'm here.
No, yeah.
I didn't want to say anything. But
So I don't know. Last week, maybe a couple weeks ago, I believe Tammy posted on Facebook
Yes,
a
it was
list of the biographies of the
Yeah.
bartenders that work here, and I will tell you what. If you want to feel like the smartest person in the room, don't come here because you're not. Because the
Right.
bartenders
I know.
are unbelievably established in
Yes.
all these amazing
Advanced
different careers.
degrees
Yeah,
and- yes.
and
They always say, hire people smarter than you, and that's what we do.
well, it's easy for you, but I mean, it's
Wow. And that's the day Kevin got kicked off the podcast.
he is.
Jared and I both
Hey,
go
Rick,
down.
would you like to be a full-time member of the podcast?
All you need is enthusiasm. But it's funny to see. A lot of times when you walk into an establishment and you don't know the person's story, that could be the server, could be the bartender, whatever, and then to read about some of the people that work here and what they do with the rest of their life was really, really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really fun too working with those guys, and then you come in and both of you you're finishing your day on a weeknight, and the other staff pop in to say hi as you're relieving somebody, and it's just pretty neat to get to know them. They love working here, even though sometimes you're just like, can I just go to bed? But once you get here and get going, you're like, all right, let's do this. You're like, it's 10 o'clock already. Yeah, it's a great group.
I think what I didn't recognize right away, but the thought that eventually creeped into my feeble mind was that a lot of times bartenders and server type positions are held by people who, I don't want to say they're struggling, but they're trying to get somewhere. They're working on their career or whatever, and they're taking all the hours they can just to put food on the table. And in this case, this is people that they don't need this job. They're here because they want to be here.
Yeah, sure, Kevin. Sure, they do. Okay, you're right.
Well, you know what I'm saying. I mean,
I know,
I'm not
absolutely.
saying
No,
they don't need
I'm kidding.
the job, but it's a choice they're making to say, no,
Yes.
I want to be here.
I was trying to figure out what would the best way to get to be you on the Stubborn German podcast would be. So I started working here, and I think after tonight, Chris is going to,
It's looking
he's
good.
good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you
Kevin's
got
out,
the
you're in.
No, I agree with you 100%. Tammy brought it up that day when we were here, or no, I brought it up, and I was like, hey, I think I'm just going to stay back here from now on. And eventually she said, if you're serious, we could use somebody. And I said, well, I'll work one day a week, but don't expect much from me. I don't have a ton of free time. And she said, that's all I got for you. And so
it's perfect.
it's worked out great. And that one day a week, you finish the day job, or whether you're working on a weekend or not, you come in, you get it in, and it's the people that you see, the regulars that come in, all the people from whether they come from St. Louis or from Carbondale or Chester or Mount Vernon that come in and never been here before. It's really fun to just chit chat with somebody who's been in here, and you're like, oh, hey, Dave, what's happening? Oh, what's up?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, right.
Or somebody come in and they said, I've never been here before. What should I drink? And I'm like, well, let me tell you.
How much time you got?
It is. You're right. It's seriously cool because we'll have at any given night just as many brand new guests that have never been in here before as regulars, or not even regulars, just I'm here for my fourth time this year or whatever.
Yeah.
And they know what they want or whatever. But it either way, they all need to be talked to, need to feel a connection with the place, and Yeah, Rick does an awesome job.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And even if I get done and I'm coming home and my wife Lindsay orders a Feathers Farm bag that's sitting here, whatever, and she sends me up here, I'm like, I'll get it, but they're way downstairs. It's going to take me a while to find. I'm probably going to be there for a while.
Sift through all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now on nights when I come in by myself, there's always somebody here that I know.
Yeah.
So even if I don't got anything or I don't have anything going on, and I just come up here and I'll find somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Well, it really puts into perspective the fact that there's, the full spectrum of different types of places to go to, of course. But we've all been to those, really dive bars that you walk in and you might be standing there for 15 minutes before anybody acknowledges you. And then they begrudgingly slide a bottle down the bar and, give you a bad look. And then you're staring at the wall and they're smoking cigarettes. And it's like, ooh, this is not fun. But, so here you've got people that are just...
do this in my basement.
Yeah, right. But here, the enthusiasm of the people that want to be here and want to hang out, it goes a long way, man. It really, makes the experience what it is, which is great.
And I will say, it definitely gets really busy here sometimes and slammed, and 2 or even 3 bartenders back there are kind of in panic mode sometimes. Like, we got to get this, got to get that, And it shows, and that's okay. Like, I get it.
It's
I
okay to be
understand
busy,
it.
yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But Rick always has that smile on his face, welcome. Like, you never look panicked. You never look like, I just got to get you this drink and walk to the next person. Like, so thank you.
Yeah, well, no, thank you. I appreciate
so
the compliment.
So you got that down. That's
yeah, all right.
Way to go.
You always seem friendly. So.
I have not figured that out.
Oh, sorry, Chris.
No, not at all.
Hey, fake it till you make it,
Exactly.
But it's actually kind of funny because that makes me think of one of the first day or two I was working, doing a training shift, and Tammy was here working with me, and the place was packed, and I was in the corner making a mixed drink, and there's people everywhere, and I was getting kind of breaking into a cold sweat. And Tammy just put her hand on my shoulder, and she's like, "Hey, you're making drinks and pouring beer, man. Life is good. Don't worry."
Yeah.
And I thought, "Hey, you know what? She's right."
It's not like you're an ER surgeon and there's a bunch of patients back.
Yeah, she said, "You're making some drinks. These people are going to like it when you get it to them. So don't worry. Just keep going."
It's just as important as that, but it's not that.
Agreed.
So if I can ask, where did you move from when you came to Waterloo?
My wife and I, we have 2 kids. We lived down in Murfreesboro prior to moving up here to Waterloo. So we live it's about 75 miles south of here. Yeah. Originally, I'm from Wisconsin.
Oh.
And I moved.
Oh, tell your folks it says hi.
Yeah. Tell your folks I says hi. Watch out for deer. Yeah. And
you know it.
Yep, that's right.
You
so,
betcha.
I moved to Carbondale, SIUC, as a freshman in college.
Where in Wisconsin?
Right north of the border, a little town called Beloit, a little farm community. Yeah, a little farm community just outside of Beloit called, shout out to Orfordville, Wisconsin. Is
there
where
you go.
My address growing up as a kid.
Oh, yeah, Orfordville.
Yeah, Orfordville, yeah. Right
I've got a lot of family in Wisconsin.
Yeah. So I have a couple of brothers, mom and dad. They all live right in that Beloit area, still to this day.
A little bit west. And then over the border.
Yep. A little bit west
Chicago.
of from Chicago. Yep, west, right over the border from Rockford. So one plus, I can get lots of Wisconsin beer anytime they come visit.
For sure.
Yeah. So I moved to Carbondale and went to school and met my wife down there. While we were in college, we worked together, and then we lived down there right up until, July 1st, 2016.
There it is.
Did you, growing up, did you spend weekends in Dubuque?
No, I've actually never been to Dubuque.
Oh, boy.
I feel like I'm letting everybody down because my family's been there a lot now as we're older, but I've never been.
What's there?
I don't know what it's like today, but I had a good friend of mine who went to Loris College in Dubuque.
Okay. Yeah.
And I went to visit him for his graduation, and it's a small school in this, not a very big city. But it was like the Hangover movie. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was hammered down for the whole 2.5 days, and by the time we left, nobody remembered what happened. And 2 of my best friends didn't talk to each other for like a year after that. It was nuts. But I think we had a good time.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it.
So maybe stay out of Dubuque.
Yeah, I guess so. There weren't any tigers coming out of the bathroom or anything.
Right. Well, so, you mentioned bringing beer back from Wisconsin. You're also a guy who's into the bourbons and have done some visits and traveling around and experiencing that stuff.
Yeah, and I'll thank the brewery for that one too. So I definitely was in the craft beer scene. I liked getting different beers and things to taste and drink, and I would try one anywhere I went. And then I was just kind of starting to drink some bourbon here and there. My wife's father-in-law, I'll credit him for really getting me going. I started drinking it just so I had something to talk to him about when I met her.
Nice. There you go.
And then
Good strategy there.
we had to have something to talk about. I was new to the area, so I figured, well, let's become a Cardinal fan. And
I hope we both like the same bourbon. You know,
we do, as a matter of fact.
Hey, you know what? That sucks, sir.
Yep. So, and then when I started working here and saw the bar back, I thought, well, I'm going to work my way through that. I'm nowhere near it. But then a couple of the other bartenders are big bourbon guys, and they put me onto a bourbon podcast, and my problem has grown since then.
Yeah, for sure. Good.
My collection at home, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I'm looking for the bottle from here, a bottle from there.
Yep.
Well,
it's a good goal to have, to try and get through that back wall there.
Yeah,
because
I
there's
gave
a lot.
up because it's always changing, and so all I do now is just look for a bottle I don't recognize and take that.
Nice.
All right,
now,
we have questions.
Yes, on that note.
Yeah, all right, here we go.
So you just brought in a couple of bottles for us to sample here. Can you tell us a little bit
This
about
is from the time he lived out in Colorado.
Yeah, so Ian, one of the other bartenders here, Ian is from Colorado, and my nephew just got a job out there. So my family and I decided what better reason to go visit Colorado, go see my nephew. So we drive out there and spent some time, hit up a couple of microbreweries that Ian recommended, and then there's a distillery in Colorado Springs called 291 Distilling. So we stopped in there, and we had just finished a drive from Estes Park down there, and the facilities were calling my name, so I had to run in and use the restroom. So Lindsay and the kids, I'm like, I gotta go. You guys, I'll meet you in there. So I go in there and I go back to the front desk or the bar there, and I'm talking to the young lady, and I'm like, all right, so my wife and kids are coming in, and we're gonna try the flight, So I'm putting an order. She's like, ooh, we don't let, if you're under 18 or under 21, you can't come in, which shocked me because I'm used to the stubborn German. I'm used to coming here. Yeah, we do all kinds of distilleries.
Yeah,
and
bring your kids.
Yeah, we do distilleries, we
Capri Suns
do
and
breweries.
stuff.
Yeah, and so I tasted a couple of them real quick, and these two hit home. So I brought the 291, their small batch bourbon, and their small batch Colorado rye.
Now, I didn't even notice. Which one did you pour?
We poured the bourbon.
The bourbon, okay.
Yeah.
So, you ever get that where the smell just brings back some kind of nostalgia, like whatever it is? It could be CDs or whatever.
Did that just happen?
Yes,
Yeah, let's do it.
like
Okay, on the count of three, let's both just say it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Baseball.
Library. Oh, okay.
Wow.
That was weird.
That was amazing.
Like, it's literally
do
just
that on every episode.
screaming through my head.
That was so cool.
The smell of a library. Those old books. I don't know what that smell is. If it's dust
It's
or
Baseballs.
paper.
Oh my
it is
God, I get it
Baseballs.
now. Yeah, it's not baseballs at all. It's library. Yeah.
How could I have been so wrong?
That's
I was
awesome.
going to say it's it's an aspen tree because this is aspen wood
Yeah.
staves and
Oh, there you go.
Is that what they make paper
aging
from?
here.
And where you're from, Jared? Aspen
Maybe.
trees?
Aspen trees? I don't know.
How's your aspen?
My aspen's it's been better.
They just keep coming.
You did say
Trying to keep my job.
I'm talking into my Glencairn again. You did say that this is very different from a Kentucky bourbon as far as tasting it. I haven't even tasted it. I'm only smelling it
Oh, yeah.
and remembering
Now you're
first
the
time
smelling your
junior
microphone.
high.
That's what I do too.
Yeah. What's that? It smells like
A beer.
beef and cheese.
It smells like snot.
Yeah, so anytime we go out of town like that, we just like to find some small breweries, find some distilleries, and just get something we've never had. This was the, I think, third distillery or second distillery on this trip. We did it a couple years back. During the summer of COVID, 2020, we did a trip out to South Dakota, and we stopped, and I won't name it because I wasn't a huge fan of their stuff. We stopped this little distillery out there, and we went in and we tried everything, and none of it tasted any good. But I felt bad, and I bought a whole bottle, and I bought a Glencairn, which I still use.
Give me whenever.
Yeah, that one that the tape on the label, you can't tell what it is.
Yeah, now I know.
Was this because you were getting over the COVID with your altered sense of taste?
At
or-
this point, I didn't have it yet, so I still, I could taste it, and it just wasn't for me. But I felt bad. I'm in there; it's just mom and pop shop, and I bought a bottle. So ever since then, anytime we walk into a little distillery, my wife looks at me. She says, "You're not buying a bottle unless you like it," and she gives me the eyes.
Oh, sure.
you
Yeah,
know?
you're not it's not a pity bottle.
Yeah,
No pity bottles?
No more pity bottles. I ended up giving that one to my brother.
I was going to say,
actually.
those become gifts,
Yeah.
and then happiness continues.
Yeah, I said, Matt, do you want this? And he's like, yeah, I'll take it.
I have a very quick South Dakota story. So I bought a car from a guy that lives in South Dakota that was born there, and it actually he was 76 years old, and his mother bought this thing new. Sweet. And I bought the car in 2016, I think. And the town it came out of, it was sold in Kennebec, South Dakota, a little tiny town. And the guy that sold it to me had a cabinet shop in Tea, South Dakota, like iced tea.
Okay.
Oh.
And for whatever reason, this past week, I've had this car since 16, I jumped on Google Earth, and you can roll back time as you look at the satellite views.
Really?
And I found a picture of the car before I bought it, sitting in Tea, South Dakota from a satellite.
Did you really?
Yeah, you can
That
see it
is awesome.
in this guy's cabinet shop parking lot.
Well, that's pretty cool.
And I remember him telling me that the car was in the parking lot and I could come get it. And I'm like, I'm in Illinois.
I was going to say, how did you find a car in South Dakota?
They got a thing called the internet.
The internet.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's what it was, like
was-
Craigslist
He
or
scours
something?
Google
or-
Earth for a car. Is that an old car?
Auto Trader.
Square by square. Yeah.
You can zoom in that close on a for sale sign. Wow.
That's
That's
it. The
pretty
phone
good.
number was a little sketch. I had to
Yeah.
call like 12 people first. No, it was just a Craigslist ad
Okay.
that got forwarded to me, and
Nice.
here we go. But I did not drink anything in South Dakota because I don't think I've ever been there. But
Yeah, no, that was the one distillery I went in and I did. I guess, yeah, pity bottle's a good word. I ended up giving it away. But we found some great microbreweries out there.
Yeah.
I
when
think
we were
what
out
you were
there.
doing is you were supporting somebody's dream.
That's what I was.
Yes.
That's
Right?
how I
Exactly.
interpreted
Yeah,
it.
for
Yeah,
sure.
My-
Yeah.
Rick's a giver.
Yeah.
Now, Rick and Chris, what are we smelling and
Yes.
tasting that's so different? Because you're right, this is
I
not
wish
the
I
same.
could
It's
as-
put
actually
my finger on
books
it.
about baseball.
It is baseball books.
Yeah, I wish I could put my finger on
Well,
it. All I know is
it's-
I just don't get that oaky flavor.
No, and that's because it says right here it was finished with aspen wood staves.
It's all about the
So it's
aspen.
bourbon whiskey. So all bourbon has to be charred in a
New oak barrel.
Charred has to be aged in
Charred.
a new
Aged, charred.
charred
We char
oak
our
container.
bourbon.
Char broiled.
What proof is this stuff?
Char boiled.
291.
It's 291 proof. Oh boy. So it's finished with aspen wood stave. So that means
So
they could either, when they feel like the bourbon is right about ready, they could go ahead and pop the bung open and put aspen wood
Yeah.
staves into that barrel. Or it could get transferred into a different barrel that has those staves in it, or maybe a whole
So,
new barrel.
how do you feel about that?
Made of aspen.
Rick and Chris both. About these stave finishing or barrel finishing.
Can I share what I smell?
Yeah.
Baseball. Say it.
No, this is the entry, which is actually a disguised elevator of the Haunted Mansion in Disney.
Oh, interesting. That is very specific.
Yeah,
That is
that's what
very-
that is.
very-
The Haunted
been
Mansion
probably-
entry, like that circle room where you.
Yeah, it's an octagon, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden the ceiling starts getting taller, and then they flash the lights up
Yeah.
ahead, and the guy's talking about your cadaverous pallor, And
Is that what that smells like?
yeah, that's actually an elevator. You're going down
Yes.
to get on the ride.
Now, it's been like 30 years since I've been on that ride, so I can't really say. But
It's been that long too, but that took me
remember it?
right back
Wow.
there. So either somebody was all boozed up on this on the ride with me.
nice. Some guy
That's
who's pounding
30 years ago.
291.
Yeah. So that's where it sent me.
Man,
Interesting.
that would have been awesome if we all three would have played that game at the same
we
time.
all
And
three
then
We're gonna do that
said
next
baseball.
time.
Kevin goes, Haunted Mansion, elevator.
But isn't that crazy how like those memories just come flashing back? And,
It's
Yeah,
it is
it's-
crazy.
and
it's
like Chris
very-
gets the wrong memories and says baseball.
Every time. Every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
And then he
so-
tells you how wrong you are.
What is your opinion about
Yes.
bourbons that are then, which are supposed to be aged in a new charred oak barrel, but then you throw in aspen or French oak or whatever, right? Does that like ruin it? Is it
Well,
not
let-
really
go ahead,
bourbon?
Rick.
at
Let
that
me
point?
ask you one question first. What do you think of Angel's Envy?
Well, the only one I had was frozen in a freezer, so
Just let it go.
So, I mean, I have no problem with them. There are certain finishes that I really like. Oak finish stuff is pretty good. This aspen finished one is good. The minor case rye, which is one of my favorite ryes, that's a sherry cask.
I think so.
I
Sherry,
want to say, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't most Angel's Envy
Oh, all Angel's Envy is
finished in a
something
cask?
else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in my opinion, like I have no problem with it. I know a lot of people who, if you tell them something's cask finished, they'll
Purists.
say,
Yeah.
I don't want flavored whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, it's not infused. So,
Right.
but I mean, I get their point, which I think eventually they'll just make another category for it, like legally. I think that's where it'll trend eventually. I have no problem with it as if they're not infusing anything into it. It says right on the bottle that it's aged in whatever, so I'm good with it.
They're not hiding it.
Yeah, it's not a hidden thing. I'm good with it.
This one in particular says that it's bourbon whiskey that was finished with Aspen Stage. So there's no trickery there. It was bourbon, and then when you add that finishing, that's where that's your added flavor.
Yeah.
But they're telling you that that's what it is. So as long as you're saying it and not if they would have left it off that they finished
I'd be unhappy.
As long as they don't say they finished it in a plastic 5-gallon bucket,
plastic finished.
I mean the bourbon. So many distilleries are doing that now. Like it's definitely the trend.
Yeah, for sure.
Along with like blending's not new, but blending is really good too. It's blended whiskeys are great.
Blending
I love
is
them.
trending.
Yeah, hey, there you go. See, he's gunning for your job, Kevin.
See, I can make up stupid
me here.
rhymes and jokes. I would say a third of everything up there is stupid jokes.
Stupid rhymes and jokes.
Stupid jokes just like you. I'd say probably a third of the bottles up there have been altered in some way like that. They're not just, here's bourbon right out of the barrel, nothing crazy
out of
done.
laboratory glass.
Yeah. And every now and
had no effect on it.
I have nothing. Sometimes I like just a straight Kentucky whiskey.
Yep, same.
That's what I want. And if sometimes I'm good with the blend, but as long as it tastes good to me, you tell me what's in it, tell you I made it. That's all I'm asking for.
And one of my favorites is a Maker's Mark with the French oak staves put in. It was last year's special fall edition or whatever. But I do, every time I think, is this really bourbon? Like, I know the rules of what bourbon is, and this is kind of breaking the rules. It's still whiskey, and that's okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm like meticulous with those rules of like what is bourbon, and I feel like they're kind of cheating. Like it's not bourbon.
That's why I think they're going to have to make another category out of it. So eventually,
what
the
rules
laws
do
are
they
going to
break?
have to change.
Well, that it has to be aged in a new oak charred barrel, and it's like, well, they're throwing other wood in there.
But it doesn't. There's no caveat. It doesn't say only in a
only.
Right.
Okay,
So,
I see how Chris works here.
Yeah.
But I think the
It
purists
doesn't say, it
eventually
can be hotel grade Rice Krispies. It doesn't have to be Rice Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Yeah.
But I think sooner or
No
later
one specified the brand.
It's the theater of the mind.
I think all the purists, just like you, Jared, someday will push hard enough. They'll have to create another category in the whiskey space. But I'm fine with it. If it tastes good.
Yeah, exactly. If it
tastes
tastes
good,
that's all that matters.
you tell me the process you made to make it. I don't mind it at all.
I'm always amazed by the beverage companies that they're crisscrossing everything possible to come up with something new.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, does that go together? And sometimes, most of the time, maybe not, but sometimes something sticks, and chances are next year they're not going to sell it anymore because they're going to try something else. And it's the short attention span theater of the American consumer, I think, that needs the newest thing. Something different.
I always
all the time.
think about with many products like that, like Cherry 7-Up, right? It's been around for decades. It's really the only fruit flavored 7-Up. How come there's not strawberry 7-Up, pomegranate 7-Up, like what?
Mango habanero 7-Up.
Mango habanero.
Yeah. Bourbon barrel 7-Up.
What made cherry 7-Up the only one that they went with?
I would say focus groups were the reason why the other ones didn't stick.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a focus group like that once on 7-Up, and I said it tastes just like a stout.
There you go.
I was right.
Yes. Focus groups.
I won.
This is as
Just
bad
like
as a
the German
stout.
word of the day, right?
Focus
This
of
guy
the
actually
focus
did a
groups.
7-Up focus group.
Yes.
Amazing.
Nice.
And I slammed it just like I would a horrible stout, or
I think that about like ketchup and mustard too. Like, how does every restaurant have ketchup and mustard on the table and not 30 other flavored things that you could spread onto a hamburger?
The 30 other things are expensive,
I guess.
and the ketchup and mustard always move.
But that's what like fascinates me.
they're demanded.
They're demanded, and that's the difference between a greasy spoon and a high-end restaurant.
But think about it. We've got endless numbers of craft beers and distilleries are making bourbon. There's probably 2 brands of ketchup that you can name, and they probably taste the same. There's more, but like ketchup is ketchup for
Do you
the
know
most
that
part. Like,
the-
why are there not 100 different kinds of ketchup?
That's valid.
Do you know the definition of fancy ketchup? You ever see the thing that says
No, what
fancy
is it?
ketchup? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
You ever
I've
see a
seen
label?
fancy ketchup, yeah.
There's fancy ketchup.
That's
and
the only
there's-
kind I have.
I know, because you're
course.
fancy pants. Fancy. There's an actual test to determine if ketchup is fancy, and it's an inclined plane that the ketchup needs to take a certain amount of time to go down the angle. So
The
if-
viscosity
it
of
is
the
basically
ketchup.
the viscosity of the ketchup.
So if it's thicker, it's fancy?
Correct.
Interesting.
And there's a certain speed. So if like 1 ounce of ketchup will make it the 6 inches down and hit the table, it's not fancy.
Well, it's not like your wine. You can swirl it around, and the longer it takes to settle down, the higher the alcohol content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so some of these restaurants that'll get like they'll get Heinz ketchup bottles and
Yes.
they'll empty it and then refill it with
Oh,
cheap
yeah.
stuff. So I could go
Right.
there and put it on an incline and say, "I'm sorry, ma'am, your
This is-
ketchup
Yeah,
is
this is
not
clearly
fancy.
not Heinz.
Hunt's.
This is French's.
Libby's. French's.
This is Kraft.
Wait. There's French's ketchup?
There's definitely
I
mustard.
think they make mustard and ketchup, don't they?
Well,
hold
mustard.
on.
I don't know about
Don't
ketchup.
go too far
Yeah,
with
so
it.
Yeah,
I'm cracking in the 291
Thanks.
rye now. When I was there, they were both delicious, and I couldn't just walk away with one. So, and I'm a big rye fan. And actually, on a similar note, from the taste incident, when I lost my taste.
Incident. Oh,
Yeah, when I lost my
Okay.
taste and
Like
I couldn't
dessert.
taste bourbon,
I can't empathize because I have no taste.
I used to really like 90 to 100 proof bourbons and whiskeys. That was my zone. You get over 100 proof, and I didn't like it, didn't care for it, wouldn't be able to really finish it.
90 to 100?
90 to 100. That was right. That was my wheel.
92.
That was my wheelhouse, I should say.
9200.
And then I got the COVID, lost
Yeah?
my flavor,
Yeah.
and the first whiskey and bourbon I could taste was rye.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I am a huge rye fan.
You're a rye
High
guy
rye
now?
mash bill. I love them. Like we actually did a Kentucky bourbon trip a couple months back with my brothers, and we went to Four Roses, and they lay out all the mash bills on the wall, and then you
Yeah.
taste them. And I'm like, oh, that's why I like Four Roses single barrel so much. It's their high rye mash.
It's what, 35% rye?
Yeah, it's their highest rye
Which is
mash they have.
pretty darn high for industry
And
standards.
I used to really like the Four Roses small batch. That was my go-to. I would ask for it for Christmas every year. And then now when people, give it to me, I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I'm like, but I really like the single barrel better.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I did, the rye was the first whiskey I could taste. And now on my shelf at home, I probably have 6 or 7 rye bottles just because that's my go-to.
And I think, you mentioned that COVID changed your smelling palate, if you will, but that changes over time as well.
It does. That's
You
what
know?
everybody says. Yeah, a lot of the regulars that come into the bar, they'll sit up there and order barrel proof stuff at neat, and I'm like, man, how do you do that? And lately, I can drink some barrel proofs neat here and there. It just depends on the flavor profile of them. But I'm like,
Sure.
all right, either it was the COVID or maybe I'm getting better at it. I don't know.
So I have a Four Roses small batch story to tell.
Oh, can't wait.
I was participating in a Christmas 25 days of bourbon advent calendar.
I thought he was going to say a focus group.
A focus group. I was participating in a
Testing
a
cherry
focus
bourbon.
group. Yeah. We only tried bourbon flavored with cherries, and I mentioned that I had never had a Four Roses, I think, small batch, whatever it was. Anyway, Chris says, "Here's what you need to get. We've got a Four Roses small batch select."
Yes.
Up at the bottle shop.
Super special.
Thank you, Chris. The man, he points me in the right direction.
Every
tells me
time.
every time.
He told you that it's here at the Stubborn
Then about
German,
a week
right?
later, it's the bourbon of the week.
Oh, I see where you're headed.
Oh, great!
What a jerk.
I can go get it for half price and try it out, see if I like it.
Yeah,
And then
so
I go over to the bottle shop. There is not
It's
a bottle
gone,
to be
wasn't it?
found.
Because they're
of
all on the bar.
Four Roses small batch select. So he tells me what to buy, and then it's not there.
Well, when I told you we had it,
He
and
did.
we had
He
too
did.
many, which is why it became
Too many, he
bourbon of the
says.
week.
Bourbon of the week.
If
And
you
it-
would have bought a bottle or two, it probably would have never been bourbon of the week. So
And it-
good thing. You're welcome, everyone in
was
Waterloo,
gonna say,
and
for
then-
Jared not getting here to
It
buy
went
it.
Is it
over
gone? Is
very,
there any
very
left?
well.
Oh, yeah, it's delicious.
People, that Four
Oh,
Roses,
yeah.
the single barrel select's excellent.
Thanks
People,
a lot, Chris.
That's what everybody said when I gave it to him. They said, "Thank Chris for
Yeah.
me," and I
Thank
did.
him for me.
Oh, by the way, people say thank you, Chris.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Good to know.
There's entire public entities of people that just thank Chris.
Yeah.
Just
Thanks,
routinely.
Chris.
Yes.
Are you gone? Is it gone? Is there any left?
I'll get more. Don't worry.
Okay.
Can
6
you
months worth.
refresh my memory, Chris? Several episodes ago, we tried some. Wasn't it a birthday
Birthday bourbon?
bourbon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy Witt's birthday.
That was
That was phenomenal.
so good.
That left a
Yeah.
mark.
It left a mark. Huh?
did leave a
Jeremy
mark.
Wetz, right?
Is Katarina's brother Jeremy?
Witt,
Witt.
right? Witt,
Witt.
that's right.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that was good stuff.
That was, I'm sure, I know Kevin recalls this. Like, notice, because we were all drinking some bourbon before we had that, and it was like
A
night
game changer,
and day,
yeah.
noticeably,
Yeah.
this
It's
is
like,
better
whoa,
bourbon.
here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, because so many people can try a bourbon and they're like, I don't know, it tastes like whiskey. I can't tell the difference. This was like
So my
game changer, noticeably better. Yeah,
my
for sure.
moment where the one that I tasted and I was like, okay, this is worth every penny, knocked my socks off, was Booker's No Strangers.
No
the
Strangers?
last batch that came out last year in 2022, I was just, every now and then I like to just stop into the liquor stores if I happen to be driving by. Just if there's anything behind the counter I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And most of the time I walk in and they've got the same, couple of bottles there and I just walk back out. But I stopped into somewhere and they had a Booker's No Strangers back there. And I thought, man, I haven't seen one of those behind the counter in a while. So I went ahead and bought it. And that was still when I was kind of on the fence about the barrel strength ones. Mm-hmm. And I opened it up at Christmas, at the family Christmas this year.
Is right out of the barrel. That's the proof.
It is
No water
uncut,
added.
unfiltered, and I was kind of worried that I was going to taste it and think I wasted my money. And my brother-in-law's brother, which I'm just going to call my brother-in-law, was in town, and he's like, I'm thinking about getting into bourbon. Bring some bourbons to Christmas. And so I'm like, heck yeah, man. I'll get anybody
problem.
into bourbon that I can. So I took the Booker's No Strangers down there, and that stuff is delicious. It has like this peanut flavor to it, and it drinks like a bottled and bond proof, so smooth, so simple. And I have a couple bottles of Weller, a couple, some pretty good bottles of stuff that I really like. And I tried him try those, and he balked at them. But he tried the
Really?
Booker's, and I think he drank half the bottle.
So he's just trying to get
right.
into bourbon and decided to go right at the barrel proof stuff.
Yeah, so he went, I tried giving him the
stronger.
Weller
Yeah.
Reserve on some ice. He didn't care for it. Gave him some of
awesome.
my go-tos. He didn't care for him. He took the Booker's neat and loved it. He was right, though.
I'm getting very strong nose on this rye, but I can't figure out what it is. Kevin and Chris, tell me what I'm
I
smelling.
agree with you,
Don't
but I
say
don't
it.
know what it is either.
We're going to
very
do the 1, 2,
distinct.
3.
Oh, yeah. Let's do the 1, 2, 3.
Rochambeau
So
here.
it's,
Hold on.
I don't think it's Disney World this time. I'm thinking.
I'm not gonna.
All right, ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Grandma's Attic.
Gymnasium.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking gym bag also.
It's some smell.
Other.
God bless it.
Jared's still talking into his Glencairn.
That's like the third time I've done that tonight.
Edit that out. No, do not edit that
Wow,
out.
that one made me lightheaded.
I think Kevin's right. Gymnasium. I was gonna say like gym shoe or locker
I know.
room.
I
or
was
something.
hesitating to say sock because I'm like, I don't want people to think
No,
I'm
I
bringing
don't-
these guys
I don't
bourbon
think
that
it's
tastes like socks.
It's
but
not like a stank,
I
but
haven't
it's like,
tasted it yet. I've only smelled it, but it's got that.
yeah, it's got
smell.
a distinct change
What
in
did
the
you
smell.
say, Chris?
Versus
tasted the grandmother's attic.
yeah.
He's making fun of me for talking into
Talking
my Glencairn.
into his glass.
holding his microphone to the
I
side.
mean, it's a little confusing. Okay,
Trying to drink his microphone.
I
a
just
mic
heard
in
this
one
weird
hand.
echo off to my right and thought, what is he doing? Oh, he's talking to the Glencairn again.
Did Jared fall over?
I'm sorry. Professional. I've only been doing
Oh,
this
my God.
many years.
Oh, that's funny.
So, did I see something about a different business venture, Chris?
Oh, you did.
Pivoting.
Did I see that? I'm going
Oh,
to pivot here for a
pivoting.
second.
Well, you probably already know a little bit about this one.
Yeah,
since
that's where I was
you
actually going with it. I
stayed there.
just wanted to talk about myself, but
Yeah, well, okay.
That's your episode,
Yes,
man.
you have permission.
okay. So Chris and Tammy started it's not Airbnb. What is the platform?
It's on Howfie.
Howfie. That's it. Yep,
yeah.
it's a Howfie.
It's BB&B?
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
I feel like we
Howfie
need to spread that word. What is
It's
Howfie?
more of a. It's
German word of the day.
platform
It
just
sounds
like
like-
yeah,
Airbnb.
it's
but
Airbnb. It's just a different
the
platform.
German word for Airbnb.
It gives the owners a little more control
Yeah.
over like the scheduling
Yeah.
and all the little goodies
Yeah.
that you put in the listing and all that. So
How do you
so
spell
that's
it?
HOUFFY.
Like a house.
Yeah, like house, but
Yeah,
Okay.
so a couple months back,
I like it.
weirdest name. But
I went ahead and I wanted to do a bourbon trip, and Tammy and Chris were talking about their place, and it was still being renovated. So we booked a couple of days there back in, I think it was in August, right before school started. I can't remember, it doesn't matter, but right back in the fall. And I was talking to Chris and Tammy about it in the spring or summer, and they said, "Oh gosh, it better be done by then."
Yeah, right.
So we book it, and as we get there, the inside is amazing. We loved it. They were finishing up the front porch, which I think it's done now, right, Chris?
It's
Right?
done
Yeah,
all the way,
awesome.
100%.
All right, excellent. So yeah, we went
Wink,
down there.
wink.
So, okay, let's back up a little bit. So,
At the time of this airing, it will be
Yes,
100% done.
where and
Thank
what are we talking about?
Okay. Yes. So it is 3 bedrooms, correct, Chris?
Yes.
3 bedrooms, sleeps 8, I believe.
Yep.
2 bathrooms.
Nice.
It's a house in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky.
Ooh.
So, which was perfect for us because I'm a huge Four Roses guy. My oldest brother, shout out to Rob, is a huge Woodford Reserve guy.
Which is 20 minutes away.
So we drove down there, and I had Chris work with me a little bit on an itinerary for what's close, what's easy, and we knocked it out of the park. So hit up Tammy for my itinerary. I think I gave it to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hit up Four Roses. Woodford Reserve is real close. Castle and Key is real close. Wild Turkey is real close.
Wild Turkey's 5 minutes away.
Yeah, and
we're working on that front porch, and you smell the mash from Wild Turkey.
Oh, no
when
joke.
the wind is coming in,
Wow.
it's like,
That's awesome.
Yep, there it is.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So we went down there. Two of my brothers and I, and their significant others, and my wife, we all went down there and did the bourbon tour on Friday and Saturday. And it's actually shocking, surprisingly, the bourbon tour doesn't exist on Sundays. It's all closed.
Yeah, a lot of them are closed on
Yeah,
Sundays or
so-
have very limited hours, one of the two.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a bourbon trail trip, don't plan on Sundays.
Right.
But the house in Lawrenceburg was amazing. It was great. It was spacious. We had plenty. They had plenty of room, plenty of area to sleep, plenty of bathroom space. The backyard was awesome. That's our feedback on it. But there was plenty of places really close, and we enjoyed the heck out of it.
Thank you.
So you can
That's
rent
awesome.
this now on Howfee.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
right on.
certainly
Yeah.
can.
And it was very easy. Chris and Tammy were awesome to work with.
And did that term of BB&B, does that exist?
BB
Bed, breakfast, and bourbon?
bed,
Oh,
bourbon.
nice.
Well, I mean,
be like bourbon bed. And then
Bourbon
breakfast.
bed.
I mean, that's what we
Maybe
did. We had to
breakfast.
cook our own breakfast, but I mean, the bourbon was everywhere. The
Yeah.
beds were plentiful. We had a great time. The Bourbon Trail was an amazing experience. The locals there, right there in Lawrenceburg. I have a brother who's super. He's outgoing. We're all embarrassed by him, but we walk into a restaurant, and the next thing you know, we're talking to everybody in there.
He's friends with everybody.
Yep,
Yeah.
he's friends with everybody. We're going, hey, dude, you're embarrassing us. And he's like, why? Everybody loves me. And he's right. Everybody loves him.
Everybody loves me.
Everybody loves him. And so. But it was a great time. So, yeah, if you're looking
awesome.
for some bourbon trips there, that's definitely a good place to make your home base. And we made it over to Bardstown for a day, Bardstown Distillery, Heaven Hill.
Yeah, that's
Buffalo Trace is
40
pretty
minutes.
close. Yeah,
Buffalo Trace is 22 minutes away, something like that. Yeah,
we left that
It's
for
pretty
next
close.
time because
Yeah.
we really wanted to go to Willett and all the stuff over in
Yeah,
Bardstown,
yeah.
which is about 40 minutes away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a great trip.
That sounds like an ideal location.
It is. Yeah, it's right in the middle of. I mean, if you threw a dart in the middle of all of the distilleries that you've ever heard of or that we ever talk about, there's not one that is more than an hour away. Everything is within an hour.
Yeah, that's
And
fantastic.
some are
Yeah.
5, 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Some are very
and
close.
that was
yeah.
our problem, was coming up with, okay, we have 2 days,
You
guys.
you got to narrow it
what
down.
are we going to do?
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
to narrow it down. I claimed I claimed to be Fidel Castro on this trip here, and I took a few suggestions, but I didn't. I shut the rest of them down. This was
Well, that's
my
what you gotta do.
planning. Yeah, exactly.
Plan your own
But,
trip.
Yep, it was. So next time, and there will be a next time. We still got to go to the Buffalo Trace area and a couple other places.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to. I mean, you're not ever gonna get them all in one trip. So you have to take multiple
Yeah.
trips.
So
And-
in preparation for all of this, kind of starting up and going live, I took a little time to kind of narrow down like some routes. Like if you had a day to go spend touring distilleries, like go to let's call Bardstown one of them. So
Yeah.
go to Bardstown and there's say 5 distilleries and a couple good restaurants right there.
Perfect.
And then I call it the South Loop, and that's where Maker's Mark,
Limestone,
Yellowstone,
or,
Limestone,
sorry,
same
yeah,
place.
Yellowstone.
Log Still, Wilderness Trail, that's all right there in that South Loop. With all easily, you can do it all in a day, no problem. So, I've kind of, I'm ready to kind of help
having
people
been down there only one time and going with Chris, I can say firsthand that I can't really even imagine going without Chris. Like, you had it planned to the minute. Like, it was we're going to leave this parking lot at 9:47, and we're going to arrive at that parking lot at 10:03.
Which works just fine until someone decides, oh, no, I got to go see if they have the George T. Stagg in the gift shop. They don't have George T. Stagg in the Buffalo Trace gift shop.
And I will stick up for Chris just a little bit here, because you have to book your tours months in advance. Right. I mean, maybe Chris doesn't, but I had to book my tours.
Yeah, they see me coming
months in advance, and so you plan that itinerary.
I can't imagine driving down that weekend. I'm like, oh, we'll find something to do.
You can go hang out at the distillery. You can get a drink, and you just can't get a tour.
Yeah. If you want tours and behind the scenes kind of access, but now and I'd say 5 years ago, that's all there was to do was tour. Or shop in the gift shop, for a T-shirt or a bottle. But the bottle prices aren't anything special there. And the gift shops,
no different.
They're going to be the same,
they were any different,
if not more than at home. Yeah. So there's no advantage there. The fun part is taking the tour.
The tour. Yeah. We enjoyed the heck out of the tours.
Yeah, definitely. And if you can, if you're going to go, hit up Chris and Tammy, ask for some tips and advice, and then go to the Haufe. I was going to say Haufe.
Yep. And the house is great. Yeah, it really is.
Yep. And okay, we need to make clear too that Chris and Tammy didn't just buy a house in Kentucky and start renting it out. This was like
he and I talked about this 2 years ago.
It's been the idea has been in the works for a couple years.
Yeah. It's great to hear that it's coming true.
The labor of it has been at least 9 months, something like that. I mean,
right about that.
Yep. Well, I was listening to a podcast and you were there, and there was no drywall or anything like that.
I mean,
I'm going to say Chris likes me better.
Right. Oh,
because there was drywall. Now, I guess I paid for my trip, so maybe he likes you better.
We didn't have indoor plumbing when I went. No.
We had warm water. We had walls.
Yeah, you were done, except for when you pull up, the outside didn't look very pretty.
Front porch just had the work to do. And other than the pizza guy driving right by, that was the only problem we had, because he's like, "Where's your porch, man?"
But they were down there. Not only did they, hire out, contractors and managers to handle stuff. You guys were down there, hammer in hand, and doing a lot of the work, especially lately.
Yeah, we did a ton of the work.
You guys have been doing a lot of the work.
Now we're to the point where so much of it has been done that no one wants to mess with it because they're like, well, I didn't get to do the easy stuff. I'm not going to just take over and do a day's worth of work. So I've been going down there, when I have a day or two to knock out some things. But it's ready now.
But it's a great stay. The house is great. There's so much
cool
stuff
things
close
like
by.
Light fixtures made from barrel staves.
Yeah, you'll see a lot if you're familiar with the inside of the.
Yeah, right. It's similar.
Made the same ones.
Yeah,
how about that?
Yeah, you'll see a lot of familiar decor, I guess, from the brewery here. So
what's
you'll feel right at home.
What's the travel time?
It's about 4.5, 5 hours.
Almost 5 from here.
Yeah.
And something that I didn't know about, I thought I was special when I got there, but it turns out it's normal. There's a thing called a bottle share when you do a house like that on the Kentucky Trail. They usually have a bottle. They have a cabinet in the kitchen.
That's our house.
Oh, I'm sorry.
and you're supposed to take that.
Wait, okay. Go in. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so we're here, and I book it all, and me and Tammy kind of headed up a lot of it, where we're back and forth in emails. Here's your dates, confirmation. We were kind of the guinea pig going through all the Haufe stuff, and it worked very, very smoothly. It was super easy. And she says, "Oh yeah, and Chris left a special bottle of bourbon for you there." And I'm like, "Oh right." My head was swelling; it hardly fit through the front door. And I walk into the kitchen, and there's a plastic bottle of Wild Turkey 101 on the kitchen table.
It is special. I won't.
It is special.
And
it was 5 minutes away.
It was delicious, and I was like, man, I don't really feel that special. And then maybe a half hour later, my brother from Wisconsin shows up, and he's going through the kitchen cabinets, and he's like, "Oh my God, Rick, have you seen this cabinet?" And there was all kinds of stuff in there. So apparently it's a bottle share. You take a bottle, you leave a partially drank bottle or your bottle there, and take drinks out of whatever you want from in there. You just leave leave them all in there to drink what you
yeah.
want.
It's all in the honor system,
Yes,
and
it's all in
eventually
the honor
we'll
system.
work to get better and better and
Yep.
better. And
Were we doing that when we were down there, Chris? I don't recall that.
Did you leave anything?
I don't know. I don't. There were so many bottles.
I had
brought.
bottles there.
So when we were out on the Bourbon Trail,
Now
we
I
bought a
know.
bottle. I think it was from Lux Row, and
Okay.
we left it in there because we drank our appropriate share
Sure.
from the
Of
cabinet.
course, yeah.
But I was like, man, this I thought I was special, and then Chris goes, yeah, that's just the way
We do that
it
for
is."
everybody.
We do that for
That's cool.
just for you. Yeah. No, we don't
Now-
lock it for you.
How does someone get a hold of? How do they rent this? Do they got to go to Houfy, or do they call Chris and
easiest
Tammy?
way, if you're just listening and curious about more info, is to email the brewery, stubborngermanbrewing@gmail.com. Just email the brewery.
Nice.
That always goes to me and Tammy, and we'll get you that link. We'll check the dates for you. We'll do all that.
Yeah, it was all super easy, and it was great. We had a great time.
From firsthand experience, Rick and myself, you will enjoy yourself if you go down to the Bourbon Trail.
Just got to
and
get
stay at
Kevin
the-
down.
I know.
Yeah,
Let's go,
Without a
Kevin.
doubt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's do a podcast down there, guys. Come on.
It's a good
I'm
idea.
in. I'm in.
Yes, let's do it.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take the van down there.
Oh my
Ooh, the
goodness.
79 is the 79 van,
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
That's still the craziest story I've ever heard. I set a Google alert 25 years ago, and
yeah.
today's the day that I'm cashing in on it.
That's what happened.
I'm telling you, when I listened to Kevin's other podcast where he
The V8
first discussed,
podcast?
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I almost choked up, tearing up
Yeah.
about the emotions behind just listening to him talk
Yeah.
about it. It's not my
Yep.
van or my family, and it was like, that is so amazing.
I
So-
went back and listened to that episode
wow.
after that one. I thought the same thing. I'm like,
That was
that's
you.
a great story. Yeah, the one
listener.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Which on that, I actually do have to throw a shout out to the three of you. So again, I'm gonna go back to when I caught COVID. So my family and I,
It's all about
we
life
went
changing.
down to Florida. We went down to Florida in the fall or late in the summer of 2021, I think it was. But anyways, while we were there, we were having a grand old time on the beach. We get back to the condo where there were some friends of ours who are about to go visit their 90-year-old grandma who lives a mile away. And I'm sitting by the pool. We're getting ready to cook dinner, and I'm like, man, I feel like dirt. I think the sun got the best of me today. So I go back to the condo, and I take a cold shower, and I'm laying in bed for a half hour, 45 minutes, and I'm like, well, I just don't feel good. And my wife comes back, and she's like, you take a COVID test. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't have COVID. I don't have COVID. I don't have COVID. So finally, she walks to the Walgreens a couple blocks down because we flew down there and we were just Ubering everywhere. Well, I had COVID. So vacation's over.
Yep.
So we can't fly. I've got COVID. The three of them are
right.
exposed. I mean, the two of us, my wife and my son had their vaccines, but my daughter wasn't old enough yet. So we're like, well, she can't go on a plane either. So we rent 2 cars. And at that point in time,
wow.
my wife takes the kids and they leave, and I get in the car and I don't feel great. The worst of my COVID was actually probably in the car. So I'm driving home and I got nothing to do. I'm in a bad mood. I'm throwing myself a little pity party, but I'm probably 6-7 episodes behind in the Stubborn German podcast.
Nice.
There you go.
Then
So-
you felt really sick.
I need to barf.
So I turned on the Stubborn German podcast just north of Atlanta, and it pretty much got me home. And I was not in a terrible mood anymore. So thank
Yeah,
you,
right
gentlemen.
on.
Thank you, gentlemen.
What
That cures what ails you.
Yes.
Guess we got to keep it going.
So I'm going to get to keep my job.
Yes. You can come back, Kevin.
Yep, true.
No,
That's
right
a 100% true story.
That's a great story.
That's awesome.
Other than the fact that it ruined vacation, great story.
Yeah, other than that.
Well, I mean, that wasn't our fault.
Well,
don't put that on us,
that's
Rick.
true. That's true. You guys got me home, and I appreciate it.
I really think that long drives are the best way to consume podcasts.
It is.
For sure,
That's
in
how
my
I do it.
opinion.
Yep.
When I go to Kentucky and back, I mean, I'll knock out all kinds of podcasts. So many to where I'm like, I'm out of podcast material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I have one day to work a week is a 45-minute commute each way. Another day is an hour and 10 minutes to get up to the clinic there. And I do podcasts all those days. That's
Yeah.
the only way to do it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you're not the first person to equate our podcast with COVID. So, yeah.
Hey.
Or
Just
get
as
them
good
sick.
as COVID.
No, it was better than COVID.
When I
that's good
think
to
of
hear.
your podcast, I think of COVID.
But I was behind on episodes, and I was driving, and boy,
It's
I
miserable like COVID.
I was in a salty mood, and I thought I got to have something
Yeah.
to lift my
Yeah.
spirits. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. We
Great.
appreciate it.
That's great. Yeah, yeah. my wife and I listen to this one as we go camping because she doesn't get a chance to hear these, and I'm generally here when we do these, so I've heard them before, but it's always fun to hear them again. Because there's stuff that I don't pay attention to, thinking about something else, and in the wintertime we're not in the car as much, so that's when they'll kind of accumulate, and then our road trips in the springtime. Here we go. So
nice.
We're pretty good. I'm just going to say.
We're pretty good.
I feel like this episode's especially good for some reason. I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, I don't know. Right?
Top 30 for sure.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, it did. This podcast put me on to the V8 podcast, which I'm not a huge car guy, but it's very different when you're like, oh, I've listened to this guy on this podcast for years. What's his other business venture?
Oh, nice.
It's really interesting to hear about. And then
you don't necessarily have to be a car guy. It probably does help. But
it helps because he'll use all these terms. I'm like, I feel like less of a man. I don't know what that means.
but now you know them.
That's right. But
talk all about carburetors.
Talking about all the shows you do out in California and the traveling and stuff. That's pretty cool. That's pretty neat.
I appreciate you listening to it for none other than the sense that is it's like bourbon. It's like anything. You can narrowcast, and really, deliver a super laser focused, media product that's it's gonna really tickle those who are into it and nobody else. And it's my mission to always cast kind of a wide net. So you don't really need to be super into cars because it's more about the experiences of stuff you do with them, and like you said, the van story and all that kind of jazz. And I'm glad that that's coming across a little bit. So thank you.
Oh, for sure, it absolutely is. Yeah, and it's pretty cool to think about. Hey, like that's in Redbud, Illinois.
That's right.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, what's in Waterloo, Illinois? The German Word of the Day contest.
That's right.
Can Kevin go 2 for 2?
No.
We'll find out.
Can you go 2 for what is it? 30 or so?
2 for 30. It's a lot.
2 for something. Okay. Putzheimer was the German word of the day, and Rick said a swizzle stick.
Good.
I still feel like that's a really good guess.
I think it's a good one.
Jared said pot still. Kevin said shoehorn.
Yeah, it's not that.
He is wrong. Incorrect. Yeah. It is a Putzheimer is a mop bucket.
Oh,
mop bucket.
Please don't put my swizzle stick in the mop bucket.
We were talking about.
Well, I had the right genre. It's a thing that doesn't get a lot of glory,
That's true.
Shoehorn, mop bucket.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not trying to say that I won.
You still got one dead on the nose.
I got one dead on the nose, and I have won this once before. So this was last time was twice. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me back, gentlemen. It's been fun. I appreciate
it. It was a great time.
Absolutely.
We really enjoyed
Thank
it, and if you enjoyed listening to this one, you can come and visit Rick and talk to him about all this stuff here at the bar.
Yep, I'll be right up there. I'll answer all your questions. Happy to serve you anything you need. And I know a little bit about beer and a little less about bourbon.
There you go. Well, enough to keep it entertaining. So if you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button. There's some magic that the internet provides. It will send you the latest episode. You won't even have to think about it. It's just boom, there it is.
Wow.
I know. It's amazing.
That's great.
And for Mr. Chris Ron, Mr. Jared Chasson, and Mr. Rick Kleinschmidt, I'm Kevin Ostie saying, Prost.
We are recording, by the way.
Oh, somebody has to. Yeah.
All right. I think I'm back on, right?
La 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 la.
So we're gonna dive deep into why.
What?
We're gonna dive. I was literally talking into my Glencairn.
Is Chris gonna say Zamboni to warm up again?
I actually do need to. I need to figure out how to pronounce this.
I
need a minute.
Yes. Don't talk into your Glencairn, everybody.
Oh, that was outstanding. I'll have another. Yes. It gets confusing.
Gosh, I had a whole other page typed up. What did I do with it?
Of more beers you don't like? Or?
No.
You should probably just delete that.
Of what makes me, you'd think I would just know it, but oh well.
Mm-hmm.
It's why Rick matters.
That's right.
That's right. I asked my wife that before I left, and she said, you might just want to leave.
I don't know.
Did you ask her why you mattered? Or?
Yes, yeah. She said, you might just want to go and have them tell you. You don't want to hear what I have to say.